5-Minute Pearls for Clinical Practice. Today's pearl is called the four-legged stool. Hello, this is Dr. Brian Morris, and this is 5-Minute Pearls for Clinical Practice, where you will learn the tools to provide exceptional care for your patients. This is the weekly podcast where you will be introduced to time-tested, evidence-based patient care strategies that aren't always taught in schools or training programs, but are nonetheless crucial for success in clinical practice. And each podcast episode is only about 5 minutes in length. I've been practicing internal medicine for 20 years. I went to medical school at Johns Hopkins, I trained at Yale, and I previously held a teaching position at Harvard Medical School. I currently practice medicine and hold a teaching appointment at UCLA Medical School here in Los Angeles, where I teach these patient care strategies to medical students, house staff, doctors, and other healthcare providers. This week's pearl is called the four-legged stool. So far, we have reviewed some very important pearls for clinical practice. First, we spoke about being fully focused on each patient. Then we discussed trusting our gut feelings. Then we discussed the importance of showing patients how to implement the behavioral changes that we recommend. Then we discussed the importance of being open-minded, but still relying on good, solid scientific research. Have you been practicing these habits? If so, head over to the 5-Minute MD Facebook page and let me know what your experiences have been like. If not, go back and listen to the first 4 shows again and give them a try. This week's pearl is one of the tools that has had the greatest impact on how I take care of patients and has to do with seeing the big picture. Sometimes human nature focuses us on the trees when we need to see the entire forest. In reality, both are important. To be a great clinician, you need to be able to see the forest, or the big picture, as well as the trees, or the more detailed, smaller picture. And to gain an even deeper understanding is to see how the trees fit together to form the forest. What am I talking about? Let's see if we can figure it out. In this podcast episode, I'd like to present you with a framework that I have found very helpful. The framework is called the four-legged stool, and the 4 legs of the stool represent the 4 components or categories of care that affect a patient's health. The first leg of the stool is medications and supplements. The second leg of the stool is procedures and surgeries. The third leg of the stool is what I call self-care. There are 4 main components of self-care: nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress management. The fourth leg of the stool is what I call relationship care. This includes the sum total of all of our relationships: family, work, community, faith, the sum total of all of our relationships. So when we work with patients, I teach students to think about these 4 legs and how we can strengthen and optimize each of these legs. Again, the legs are, number 1, medications and supplements; 2, procedures and surgeries; 3, self-care; 4, relationship care. Now remember that the second leg, surgeries and procedures, is not just surgeries, it's all procedures. So this includes screening procedures like colonoscopies and mammograms. It includes blood tests that we might check. It includes any other procedure that we might perform that contributes to the health of our patients. So to understand the four-legged stool a little bit more, let's take an example. Let's say you're meeting with a patient. You might think about the first leg. Is there a medication change or a supplement change that I can make that would help this patient? Then I might think about the second leg. Is there a procedure that I might be able to recommend to the patient, such as a screening colonoscopy or a mammogram or a blood test or some other procedure that I might be able to recommend that could help this patient? Then I would think about the third leg, which is self-care. Is there a way that I can help my patient eat healthier or sleep better or exercise more consistently? And finally, I would think about the fourth leg. Would the patient benefit from counseling that might strengthen his or her marriage or relationship with a child or a parent or perhaps a situation at work? These are the four legs of the stool, and it's something that I think about every day with patients. I find it very practical and very helpful. It's also helpful to review the four legs with patients. Sometimes when I sit down with patients, I'll draw out a stool and show them the four legs. It's very empowering to patients because it teaches them that half of the legs are actually things under their direct control: self-care and relationship care. Taking care of patients is sort of a partnership where we provide medical care and the patient takes the best possible care of him or herself. Medications and procedures are an important part of healthcare, but they're only half of the stool. Practicing good self-care and having good relationships are also very important components of a well-rounded healthcare program. So the next time you meet with a patient, keep the four-legged stool in mind and review each of the legs in your mind, and then try to think of ways that you might be able to help the patient optimize each of these legs. Make sure patients' medications are optimized. Think about it. There might be a procedure that could help your patient. Review self-care with your patient, such as nutrition, exercise, sleep management, and stress management. And think about ways that you might be able to help the patient with their personal or work relationships. Keep all four legs in mind when you meet with patients. You won't be able to cover all four legs during each appointment, but keeping the big picture in mind can be very helpful as you take care of your patients. Future Pearls will delve more deeply into this process as we learn more about helping our patients optimize their health. Let's keep the dialogue going. Let me know what you think of this week's Pearl for Clinical Practice, the four-legged stool. Post your comments and your experiences on the 5-Minute MD Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter at Brian Morris MD. You can email me at drmorris@5minutemd.com. That's DRMORRIS at 5minutemd.com. And you can visit us anytime at 5minutemd.com, our website. Let your friends know about the podcast. Make sure that you are subscribed on iTunes. If you subscribe to our show on iTunes, you will receive new pearls as soon as they are posted to iTunes. Thank you so much for listening. This is Dr. Brian Morris. I will see you at the next 5.